This is Shlomo Swidler, CEO of Orchestratus, on Monday, May 19th, 2014. Hi, this is Shlomo Swidler. Welcome to the OpenStack Israel podcast. On today's episode, my guest is Dagan Gilat, Senior Manager of Cloud Platforms at IBM Haifa Research Lab. Welcome, Dagan.
Hi, Shlomo.
How are you?
Oh, great. Thank you.
Good. First question is, what is the IBM Haifa Research Lab all about, and what are you doing with clouds there?
The IBM Haifa Research Lab kind of founded in 72 around advanced research and development. I joined IBM in 2001 after my PhD in the Technion. For a lot of years, we are doing systems research and cloud research. Our role within IBM is to bring innovation along with other units, of course, and to contribute these innovations both to the market and, as we will discuss later on, to open communities and as well to IBM products and services.
How do you see the workloads that are being tested out and the clouds that are running those workloads? How do you see them evolving over the years? I'm looking back at history. How have you seen them changing?
Cloud is a relatively a new word. In fact, we viewed in computing, and as you know, IBM is leading the high-performance computing area for many years. So we have viewed the large clusters that did the high-performance computing, and we viewed the virtualization. Again, we have roots there as well with the IBM mainframe, or Z series as it's called today, and automation. So you can view the cloud as a development in several areas, both the power of computing and lowering the cost or the entry barrier for one end, the automation and the scale, and also the virtualization, although we see also today trends that try to capture not only the virtualized machine, but also the bare metal with some specialization in hardware as well. So this is a journey, and we viewed it from the start, right?
IBM is definitely well known in the HPC area. Have you seen cloud workloads more recently tend to focus on enterprise types of applications and web applications and drifting further away from HPC-centric workloads?
Of course. So again, if I'm talking about workloads, so we have some terms to define it. So we have the system of record, so the transactional systems. Again, not only the HPC, also all the transactional systems. Think of a bank or an insurance company or any other companies that have transactions that are stored in databases. So these type of applications are still in kind of the traditional architecture.
Yes.
But more and more are now kind of moving to what we call system of engagement in the cloud. And this one, can be workload like social, data mining on the cloud, big data, etc. So, and again, over time, more and more application will move to be quote unquote native cloud application that will use the cloud patterns like messaging or a simple data store, NoSQL data stores, etc. This will be the building block. But in this era, we are trying to bridge between the two. So we need to kind of connect both the backends and traditional systems to the bone of the cloud systems. For this journey, in particular in IBM, we are relying on open standards. So OpenStack, Cloud Foundry are kind of the building block for the cloud we envision.
So you see OpenStack and other open source cloud architectures as crucial for the future development of the industry.
Yeah.
What kind of things are you doing with OpenStack at IBM?
Just a little history here. In research, we look at the market, we look on the trends and the technological trends, and try to bring it inside IBM. OpenStack back then, late 2010, we started looking at it. We joined a large European project with other companies and suggested to have OpenStack as the base for the cloud hosting part of that project. And then we started to understand, it was some learning curve here to understand the OpenStack. It was less stable back then. And it was very simple, it only had the Nova and Swift, basically. And as it developed and evolved, we also identified opportunities to have contribution to the community. So the simple one was enablement of IBM storage products, for example. Or a more advanced one was around high availability and how to recover from a physical server failure in OpenStack. These are, were the two first, contributions in this area we did. And then we continued doing more and more advanced contributions to the community. And as IBM joined OpenStack in April 2012, we had some head start, to have the products in IBM that kind of rely on OpenStack, benefiting from these contributions and our expertise. IBM have a lot of contributors, and we have in our team also several contributors. We are contributing in several areas. So in fact, to the most of the core projects. So to Nova, I mentioned, the contributions around high availability and how to mitigate failures. Mm-hmm. We have contributions around resource management and placement of VMs. A lot of contributions around storage, both in Cinder and in Swift. For example, we contributed the volume migration, volume retype, and drivers for several IBM products. And in Swift, we had a lot of interest there, and in fact, it's kind of continues our journey in the object storage area before the Swift introduction. So we did things like secure multitenancy for Swift, on-demand data migration, rich metadata support. So some of this work is in the work with the community, and some is contributed. So we have had several also work in the networking area.
What do you think was the most interesting news to come out of the OpenStack Summit last week in Atlanta?
We had several team members. I didn't attend this meeting of OpenStack, but I think there were a lot of announcements, still learning it, but our team presented their disaster recovery as a service that got a lot of attention. Still need to see, and analyze, the other news from there. Also, I would like to remind, the heterogeneous management in OpenStack, kind of touching ironic and the ability to manage bare metal servers under OpenStack as well. So you can think of it now as a very rich system that can support many vendors, many types of computation abstract like containers, VMs, bare metal servers, etc. A lot of types of hypervisors, so you're not limited to one only, etc. So this is becoming a very rich environment in which you can manage a fairly complex and heterogeneous environment.
In your experience with OpenStack over the past several years, what are some of the challenges that you had to overcome?
At first, it was climbing the learning curve. So it took a while. I think today this is much better. Also, depending on the project, some are, better documented, some are not. A lot of, a self-learning experience, which is natural for our environment, in research. But again, it demanded some effort and investment. In early days, it was hard to bring up the environment itself. I think today it's fairly easy. Networking configuration was complex. Automation tools were just at the beginning when we started. So again, connected to that bring us for the environments. Even with automation, you need some understanding. And sometimes I think when you have too much possibilities, it's also a challenge, to choose the right one. Again, we saw all sorts of projects in OpenStack. Now we see several alternatives in each area, and you have to choose wisely and evaluate the options you have in kind of composing your stack.
Yes. How can someone who's just beginning with OpenStack or just thinking about it as a potential solution, how can they make these decisions?
Depending on their goals. I think many organizations today kind of evaluate OpenStack, seeing if it can serve them for several purposes like dev test, or even running several production workloads in a private cloud, or considering to have a public provider, etc. In this journey, it's good to have some technology partner that can help you to climb the learning curve, and then help you in choosing the right mix of component of your cloud stack. Also, I think, it depends on the companies. If you kind of, your strategy is around the open standards and open source, it's better that you base that on a vendor that has its designing principle and goal. a lot of organizations, not only because of cost, but for many other reasons, tend to adopt open source based products and distributions. We have some reference here, like Linux or Android, that kind of can assure us that these things succeed over time, and its innovation pace is accelerated when compared to a proprietary product. So I would recommend them to have some technology partner that will help them to climb the learning curve, and also can give at a later stage support and further help evolving their strategy.
It might be interesting for companies with the resources of IBM and other similarly gigantic companies to directly invest in the core OpenStack project and adopt it directly. But wouldn't you think that just like Linux and the world of Linux adoption, most other companies would probably choose a distribution instead of the raw OpenStack project?
Of course. I think IBM, of course, have its own distribution as well, and its own product. Most companies will choose a distribution or a product based on core OpenStack rather than adopting the vanilla. Yeah.
So what do you think are the main difficulties facing the OpenStack as a success in the market today?
Main challenges, can be complexities. When compared to Linux, it's not only an operating system, it has a lot of sub-projects. But you may say, that each individual project succeeds more or less depending on the technical leadership. And the overall adoption depends on the experience that is accumulated now. But as we go on, I believe that with the improvement of automation tools and the accumulated experience, and not only that, I think you have a lot of as a service options also available today. So you don't have to deploy it on your premises. You can today kind of launch it on the cloud. Some of these are also available.
I would imagine that in IBM Labs you have several quite large deployments of OpenStack running at any one time.
Yes, we have several of those.
What kind of lessons have you learned from trying to keep large-scale deployments running over a long period of time?
Be very careful not to break the environment, because it's a living system. And when you install or upgrade it, you need to make sure that you are working against a stable release and not accidentally injecting an upgrade that you didn't mean to. So, of course, when we work and develop internal component there, we break it from time to time. But, if you want something for production, you better rely on a stable release and upgrade it very carefully.
Would you say that it's as important to have disciplined and mature processes when you do those kinds of upgrades and when you do other operational actions as it is to have mature technology?
I agree. And this is, again, I see it as, part of the automation tools. And not only automation tools, it's compliance, checking that your new configuration is compliant with the organization policy, is secured, etc. So definitely.
Doesn't IBM have tools to help with that?
Yes, we have tools in this area.
So Dagan, will you be at the upcoming OpenStack Israel event on June 2nd?
Yes, for sure.
I look forward to seeing you there. Thank you very much for joining me on the program, and all the best.
Thank you. See you there.